Hey guys, it's Mr. Schmidt here, and in this video we're going to take what we learned in the last video with the demand and marginal revenue curves of the monopolist and go ahead and graph a monopoly. Now, the first thing that's different between graphing a monopoly and graphing perfect competition, which is really a central theme of this unit, is how is monopoly and perfect comp different? One nice way that they're different is we're only going to have to deal with one graph. And why is that? Because remember, in a monopoly, the market is the firm, right? So we don't have to do side-by-side graphs of the market and the firm because it's the same graph, because the monopolist is the market and the firm all at the same time. The labels that you're familiar with are exactly the same: quantity, $sign to represent costs and revenues. And then we need to first go ahead and put in the demand and marginal revenue curves, which we learned about in the last video. So remember, it's this kind of interesting looking shape here. So marginal revenue, and then we got demand. And just for clarity's sake, we'll go ahead and put AR and price. So that's the setup for marginal revenue and demand. Marginal cost, same shape as always, the Nike swoosh, so like that, marginal cost. And then, of course, we need to put average total cost on here. And again, it's going to be minimized when it goes through marginal cost. So we'll go ahead and put it right here. And then we're going to swing up and ATC. And there you go. That is the graph of a monopoly, right? So marginal revenue and demand look a little different. Marginal cost and average total cost look just like they did in perfect competition. Now the next step is to find the monopolist's profit maximizing quantity. The good news here is that it's the same rule as with perfect competition. We look for where marginal revenue intersects marginal cost and then go down to get that quantity. And so I'm going to do that in blue here. So here is the intersection point. We go down, and we will call this QM for the market quantity, the monopolist's quantity, whatever you want to call it. The tricky part here is with price, because you may be tempted to say, okay, then we just go straight over and get the price. Well, remember, the marginal revenue curve is no longer equal to price, right? It's just Mr. now, not Mr. DARP, right? So we actually need to go get the price from the demand curve. So we actually have to go up here, hit the demand curve, because this is the point where our quantity hits that demand line, and then go over to get the price. We'll call that PM. Okay, and we can make this PM as well. So this is the monopolist's price. Okay, so this is a little different than perfect competition, right? And you've got to be careful because so many students will want to go straight over from when MR equals MC, and that's not the price. You're actually giving the monopolist a significantly lower price than what they're able to charge. Remember, a monopolist is a price maker, and because of that, they're actually going to charge a higher price than in perfect competition. So the next thing is, okay, is this firm making a profit or a loss? And remember, the rule is if the price is greater than the firm's average total cost, ATC of M, they are making a profit. And that's true here, right? Because here, right here, is the firm's average total cost. We'll call that ATCM, okay? And we notice it is less than the firm's price. So the price per unit is greater than the cost per unit. And so this firm is making a profit. And so what we can do here is I'm going to go ahead and put in, let me see what color I used on my own notes here. Looks like I used blue. And so we're going to use, let's do a different color since I put all that in blue on the dotted line. So we're going to use this green here to represent total revenue, right? So it's quantity times price. So it is this box here. And then cost we will do in red, And so it is quantity times the firm's average total cost to get total cost. So it's what I'm doing in red here. And then what is in green but not in red is the firm's profit. And if you'd like, I can, in this gray color here, highlight that in for you or shade it a little bit. So that is how you draw a monopoly making an economic profit, right? So a lot of the same things we learned with perfect competition still apply with the monopolist, right? In terms of the profit maximizing quantity, the rule about whether the firm is making a profit, loss, or break even. All those things are true. The labels and the axes, the shape of marginal cost, average total cost. The thing that is different and the thing you got to be careful about is where is the price, right? We have to go up from the profit maximizing quantity to the demand curve, and that tells us our price. And that's the biggest challenge for students as they move from perfect competition to monopoly. So that's how you draw with a profit. Now, what I want to do now is show you how to draw it making a loss. Okay, so we'll do the loss, and I'm going to show you break even as well. So we'll do all three. So if you want to pause the video to either take a break or to try it yourself and see if you can get it before I do, you're more than welcome to do that. But this time I'm just going to kind of do it, right? So again, I like to draw these graphs the exact same way every time. It just becomes kind of a habit of how I do it. And someone's going to yell at me in the video, you got to put AR and P. Okay, that's fine. And then because the firm needs to make a loss, I got to put average total cost above the price. So actually the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do here is come down and get that quantity, QM, and then come up. And marginal revenue is very steep here, so it looks a little funky, but I think you guys get the idea. PM. Sometimes students will ask me, with the point of MRD where those two lines meet, does that have to hit the axis? No, doesn't matter, so don't worry about it. And then we need average total cost to swing up and then go through that line. So what I like to do when I draw average total cost is really make the ends of it as wide as possible, because if I make it, let me just show you something here. If I make it really steep like this, it's never going to hit this dotted line that's going straight up, and that's going to be a problem, right? So what you want to do is when you're drawing it, especially when you're making a loss, it seems to be when that's the biggest challenge, is I'm going to make it really wide, so you can see just like that, and that way it'll hit the what I call the quantity line, right? Because I need to go to show average total cost. I need to keep going up, because obviously it has to be greater than price when you're making a loss. So, and I'm going to have to squeeze this in here. Average total cost of M, right? So this would be the firm making a loss, right? So total cost would be what I'm going to do in red here. Total revenue, I'll do that in green. And then the loss, I will shade in gray. So that is how you would draw it making a loss. And again, don't worry about your graphs being perfect. I will tell you probably the biggest two things I want you to be careful with here is, of course, drawing ATC, making sure it's minimized when it hits marginal cost, and make sure you know how to get the firm's price, because it is different with perfect comp, the monopoly, because the challenge now is that you have both of these graphs in your head, right? You have perfect competition, and now you've got monopoly, and they look different, and that's because the characteristics are different. In perfect comp, there's many firms. You have a market and a firm side by side, and the firms are price takers, whereas in a monopoly, you have one firm, the market is the firm, so that's why I'm not labeling it at the top, and the firm's a price maker, and so the demand curve's downward sloping, and it's no longer marginal revenue because this is a non-price discriminating monopoly. I have to charge every consumer the same price. In a later video, we'll talk about what would it look like if a firm is price discriminating. Now, the last thing I want to do is show you it breaking even, and this is probably the hardest one to draw, but it is one you need to know how to draw because it's going to come into play when we talk about monopolistic competition, another market structure, later in this unit. So let's talk about how to draw it. So again, the setup here is not that different, at the start of it. So, and this time I'm trying to make marginal revenue not as steep as before. There we go. And then marginal cost. So again, notice I'm drawing it the same way every time, right? I'm just trying to get into the habit, drawing it the same way, so that way I kind of just get it stuck in my head. How do I do it? How do I draw it? So there's profit maximizing quantity and the corresponding price. And then how do I fill in average total cost? Well, here's the thing. Let's think about this. If the firm's breaking even, then I know that my average total cost has to be equal to my price. They have to be the same, right? Because the price per unit needs to equal the cost per unit, so total revenue and total cost are the same. Well, I also know that it has to be minimized when it goes through marginal cost. And so it's got to be actually tangent to this point. And so when you draw it, it's going to look something like this. Right? And that looks a little weird. It looks a little funky, okay? It's not the easiest thing to draw. And the AP Reader will give you some little flexibility there. But what I like to do is I like to make the dot as big as possible so it really looks like it's tangent, okay? Because then total revenue and total cost will be the same. So when you're drawing a monopoly or a monopolistic competition, we'll see that later, and you need the firm to break even, you need ATC to be tangent to the demand curve so that price and average total cost are the same value, okay? And that's something I just recommend practicing doing so that way you get better at it. It's not one you need to draw that often, to be honest, but it does come up on occasion. So that's all for this video on how to model and draw monopoly. Until next time, have a great day.